Hi students, welcome to the class. In the last class, we saw the fight between the two opponents. Who were the two opponents? Yes, the cobra and the mongoose. And the fight was over? No, it was not over. We could see in the last class only the first round of the fight. And let us see here the next rounds of the fight between the two, cobra and mongoose. And who are the spectators? How many spectators? Yes, 3 spectators. Who are they? One was the boy, and the second was Myna, and the third was the crow. Okay, so the 3 spectators were watching the fight between them, and we also were watching in the last class. And the fight was not over. Today let us continue the fight between the two opponents. In your textbook, page number 13, the first paragraph. I will read the paragraph at first, then I will explain. Look at the textbook and go through the paragraphs. I will read. You may listen. The moment the cobra struck, the crow and the myna hurled themselves at him, only to collide heavily in mid-air. Shrieking at each other, they returned to the cactus plant. A few drops of blood glistened on the cobra's back. The cobra struck again and missed. Again the mongoose sprang aside, jumped in and bit. Again the birds dived at the snake, bumped into each other instead, and returned shrieking to the safety of the cactus. The third round followed the same course as the first, but with one dramatic difference. The crow and the myna, still determined to take part in the proceedings, dived at the cobra, but this time they missed each other as well as their mark. The myna flew on and reached its perch, but the crow tried to pull up in mid-air and turned back. In the second that it took him to do this, the cobra whipped his head back and struck with great force, his snout thudding against the crow's body. I saw the bird flung nearly 20 feet across the garden, where after fluttering about for a while, it lay still. The myna remained on the cactus plant, very wisely refrained from interfering again. The cobra was weakening, and the mongoose, walking fearlessly up to it, raised himself on his short legs, and with lightning snap had the big snake by the snout. The cobra raged and lashed about in a frightening manner, and even coiled itself about the mongoose, but all to no avail. The little fellow hung grimly on until the snake had ceased to struggle. He then smelt along its quivering length, and gripping it round the hood, dragged it into the bushes. The myna dropped cautiously to the ground, hopped about, peered into the bushes from a safe distance, and then, with a shrill cry of congratulation, flew away. When I had also made a cautious descent from the tree and returned to the house, I told grandfather of the fight I had seen. He was pleased that the mongoose had won. He had encouraged it to live in the garden, to keep away the snakes, and fed it regularly with the scraps from the kitchen. He had never tried taming it because wild mongoose was more useful than a domesticated one. Okay, can you understand what is in the paragraph? You may not understand fully. So I will help you. I will explain what is in the paragraphs. So while mongoose and cobra was fighting, we saw the first round of the fight, and the spectators, what did they do? Did they watch keenly the fight? Only watch? No. They also, not all the spectators, but the two spectators, who are the two, Myna and the wild crow, they also took part in the fight between the cobra and mongoose. Next question is this: what were the reactions of the spectators when the cobra struck? Look at what were the reactions, or how did they took part in the fight. That is the first paragraph. What did they do? When the cobra struck, the mongoose escaped, feigned, you know that, jumped aside the mongoose. At the same time, when the cobra struck, the two spectators, Myna and the crow, what did they do? They hurled themselves at him. They hurled means go swiftly towards something, rush to something swiftly or speedily. So the two collide at the mid-air, shrieking each other. Shriek means the sound made by the birds, that is shrieking, and collide each other. Collide, in the mid-air they come into conflict. They together flew or rushed to the cobra, but they couldn't touch the cobra. Instead, what did they do? They collided each other in the mid-air. Okay, and returned to the cactus plant. They were perched. They were sitting on the cactus plant. They returned to the same place. So how did they participate? The answer is this paragraph. And look at the cobra once again. A few drops of blood glistened on the cobra's back. Look at when the first round is over, who won in the first round? When we see the glistening on the back of the cobra, glisten means the shine, glistened, shone, what? Blood shone on the back of the cobra. That means mongoose bit on the back of the cobra in the first round. So who is leading? Mongoose is leading. Then the second round, what happened? Struck again, cobra struck again, but it is also missed. As in the first round, the mongoose sprang aside, jumped in and bit. Okay, as in the first round. Again, the spectators, the birds, came, hurled or dived to the cobra, and this time also they were collided. Here the word used is not collided, but what? The word bumped into each other. That means same meaning, collided, bumped. They hit each other and returned back or returned to the cactus, to the safety of the cactus. 2 rounds are over. And who is leading in the first 2 rounds? Surely mongoose is leading. Look at the third round. The third round followed. As in the first round and as in the second round, the third round also was in the same way. The cobra struck, mongoose jumped aside, bit on the back of the cobra. Same, third round also. But one difference, first and second round was the same. In the third round, the 2 combatants did in the same, but the spectators in the first and second round, they came to the cobra and collided or bumped into each other and went back to the cactus. And in the third round, there was a difference. And what was the difference in the third round? That is the next question. What was the dramatic difference in the third round? This is the next question. And what was the dramatic difference in the third round? In the first 2 rounds, how did they do? In the same way they did. And they collided or they bumped each other and went back. Okay, returned to the cactus. But this time, what happened? They came and instead of colliding each other, they missed each other and Myna went back to the safety of cactus. Flew on and reached its perch. Perch means, look at 3 birds are perched on the branch. വന്നിരിക്കുന്ന ആ സ്ഥലം, അതിനെയാണ് perch എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Myna went back to the perch. What was the perch of the 2 birds? Yes, cactus was the perch of the 2 birds. Went back. But the crow, what happened? The crow came and missed each other. Myna pulled up and went back, but crow could not pull up in the mid-air and turn back. The crow could not. The second means at the time when the crow was doing this, pulling up and going back, what happened? Cobra whipped. Whip, you know. What is a whip? You can see here. Whip. What we do with the whip? You know? Okay. Just like the snake whipped his head and struck with great force his snout, thudding against the crow's body. What happened? The cobra, it whipped its head, and what happened? With the great force, the snout of cobra, the snout means this part of, or the mouth or the nose, that part of an animal is called snout, and that part of cobra struck forcefully on the body. Whose body? The body of crow. Then what happened? Flung nearly 20 feet across the garden, where after fluttering about for a while, it lay still. Dead. Who? The crow. Due to the whip of the cobra, the bird was flung through the garden for 20 feet. There it fluttered, fluttered, then lay still. That means died. Who? The crow. And this was the difference. See the question once again. What was the dramatic difference in the third round? The first and second round was in the same way. But in the third round, there was a dramatic difference. And this is that dramatic difference. The spectators took part, but one among the spectators was killed in the third round. And what did the myna do? The myna remained on the cactus plant, very wisely refrained from interfering again. Myna remained on the cactus. Myna reached back, went back in the safety of cactus, and it sat there, remained there. Wisely, it didn't interfere in the case, in the proceedings again. So the myna was wise. That was the next question. Why is the myna said to be wise? Why is the myna said to be wise? Because it didn't interfere in the fight again. That is why it is called wise. The fight was continuing. Look at the next paragraph. The cobra was weakening, and the mongoose, walking fearlessly up to it, raised himself on his short legs, and with the lightning snap had the big snake by the snout. What is happening? The cobra, the snake, has become weak. Weakening. Weak is strong, and opposite of strong is weak. Weak. Who? Yes, cobra became weak. And mongoose, look at the mongoose, walking fearlessly, raised himself on its short legs. Raised himself. Who? Not the cobra. The cobra is weakened, but the mongoose rise. Look at the mongoose rising on its legs, and with the lightning snap had the big snake by the snout. And by the snout, lightning snap. The snap, lightning, minnal. Very swiftly, again with the snout, he was attacking. The mongoose was attacking. The cobra also was responding. The cobra, what did the cobra do? Writhed and lashed about in a frightening manner. The cobra lashed, moved quickly, and also it writhed. Okay, cobra writhed and lashed, frightening manner, and even coiled itself about the mongoose. It just tried to coil. Writhe and coil, writhe. Coil is coil around something. But the snake tried to coil the mongoose, but all to no avail, no result. Everything failed. Okay. The little fellow hung grimly on until the snake has ceased to struggle. The mongoose was not ready to cease the struggle. Cease means stop. Then who ceased it first? The snake ceased the struggle. Until the snake ceased the struggle, stopped the struggle, the mongoose hung grimly on. Very seriously, the mongoose stood there. I am not ready to go back from the fight, to keep away from the fight, or to cease the fight, or to stop the fight. But who stopped the fight? The snake stopped the fight. And then what did mongoose do? When the cobra stopped the fight, mongoose smelled all over the Smell. Mantuka. Smelt all over the body. Quivering body. Quivering means shivering. Body of shivering length of the snake, and gripped means caught the hoot and dragged it into the bushes. Okay, so here if I ask you one question, who won the fight? Who won the battle? Of course, we all will say that mongoose won the battle. Who won the battle? Mongoose won the battle. Then Myna where was Myna? On the cactus, sitting. Remind the. Then what Myna do? Myna came down from the cactus cautiously, jumped. The birds and chadi. Hopped about, jumped about, peered into the bushes, looked. Then with a shrill cry of congratulation flew away. The Myna looked into the bushes from a safe distance. വളരെ ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചാണ്. Friend has gone. Okay, so Myna was very careful. Myna very cautiously or carefully from a safe distance looked into the bushes, and at last it flew away with the cry. Shrieking sound means with that cry of the bird. And what is the cry for? Yes, congratulations. And it flew away. Who? The Myna flew away. So the fight is over. Okay, page number 17, activity 4. It is the question to write the fight. Who saw the fight? The boy saw the fight. And the boy was telling the fight to us, what he did see. And in the exam, sometimes we may be asked to write the fight, to explain or to narrate the fight between cobra and mongoose. So we should say the boy was sitting on the platform halfway up on the banyan tree. Okay, just like that. You begin like that and write the fight, the entire fight between them. That is one activity. You come back to the story. The boy, after the fight was finished, what did the boy do? The boy very cautiously, with very carefully descend from the tree and return to the house. After the fight is over, very carefully the boy came down from his platform. He built halfway up and went to the house. There he told everything to grandfather. How will it be? You can say grandfather നോട് എല്ലാം പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുത്തു. ആരാ പറയുന്നത്? ബോയ്. അപ്പോൾ ബോയ് എങ്ങനെ എഴുതുക? The boy was sitting എന്നല്ലല്ലോ തുടങ്ങുന്നപ്പോൾ. അപ്പോൾ എങ്ങനെ തുടങ്ങുക? Boy should be first person. I was sitting on the platform. I built halfway up on the tree. I as first person. But here in page number 17, activity 4 is not to write in the first person, but to write in the third person. We should write a third person narrative there. Then what was the response of grandfather? Look at, he was pleased. Pleased means he was happy by hearing the news of the fight. Why was he happy? Because mongoose had won. This mongoose encouraged to live there in the garden. Why? Why was the mongoose encouraged in the garden? Yes, to keep away the snakes from the garden. And also it was the mongoose was fed regularly. Every day grandfather gave food, that is fed, bhakshanam kodukka, fed, gave food every day. What type of food? The food from the kitchen, the scraps of food. Scraps means the waste food was given to mongoose every day. But he didn't tame, he didn't make an attempt to tame the mongoose. Tame means to make it a pet animal. Why didn't? Because that is the next question. What prevented grandfather from taming the mongoose? Or why didn't grandfather tame the mongoose? The question is that because grandfather says that wild mongoose are more useful than a domesticated mongoose. Clear? Wild mongoose, kattile, vanya mrugam, wild animal. Domesticated animal means valarthu mrugam. So why didn't grandfather tame? Because wild animals are more useful than the domesticated animal. Okay, that's all for today. And here many questions are discussed. You must go through the passages once again and write the questions in your notebook and also its answers. And as I told you just before, activity 4 in page number 17 you should write, and one more activity in page number 20, activity 1. Pick out the words and phrases used to describe the fight of each warrior. We saw the fight very clearly. Who are the two combatants? One was snake, other was mongoose. Here in the activity, two columns are given. One column is for snake and the next column is for mongoose. And we should write the words used in the passages or in the story to describe the fight of these two champions. അപ്പോൾ സ്നേക്ക് എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ചെയ്തത് എന്നുള്ളത് സ്നേക്കിൻ്റെ കോളത്തിലും മംഗൂസിൻ്റെ കോളത്തിലും എഴുതുക. So these are the two activities specially for this, and in general the questions and also MOD. Okay, see you again in the next class. Goodbye.